Well, welcome there. Episode 4 of the Ring Psychology Podcast. Welcome. Uh, we talked a lot on episode 3. Damn near went over 3 hours about this whole situation, which we'll talk about more as this broadcast progresses. Welcome, I'm your host, Double A Anthony Alvarez, and with me as always, the one, the only, the bad guy, Mr. JP Josh Pruneda. We might have other guests popping on. You'll never know. But nonetheless, more people coming out of the woodwork in this scandal that involves one Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr. It is only going to get ugly from here, and that's not even having no preliminary hearings yet. So who knows what's going to happen as this all unfolds, as more people come out. Just today, the Hall of Famer Tori Wilson, aka Mrs. Billy Kidman, she came out and said some stuff. The person representing John Laurinaitis comes out and said that I was a victim. This is only going to get ugly as the day and the times. Like I said, it came out at the wrong time, especially after all this merger and deals, and then all of a sudden you're going into your peak season, your Super Bowl season, that is the road to WrestleMania 40, and all this is just giving the WWE a black eye heading into their money-making season of WrestleMania. So as this goes into WrestleMania, because we are less than 2 months, we're 2 months, literally 2 months away from WrestleMania, which will take place on the 6th and the 7th in Philadelphia, which has been a WWE staple for a very, very long time. All the shows they had in the Spectrum, of course, Allentown, Pennsylvania is where they used to have, that was their version of Center Stage, where they filmed Championship Wrestling and all that before they went to Superstars, the Wrestling Challenge in the mid 80s. So, there's a lot of history with the WWE in Philadelphia, but what is there to make of this, man? Like, this is really all just, I'm not going to say mind-boggling. I'm not going to say wow, but it's just now all these people want to come forward and just, in a sense, just have their say, have their 2 cents, for lack of a better term, if you will.
Well, I think a lot of it was kind of a foreseen, thing. We kind of knew that with the insane information that came out the first day, we knew it was just going to be an avalanche of different shit coming out. Um, People coming out of the woodwork. We had talked about it before, how many people were involved in the whole thing. Now, again, you got John Laurinaitis trying to come out and somehow cover his ass in this whole entire thing, which I think we kind of knew was going to happen as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Lesnar's people, start coming out with statements to cover his ass. They've been taking his image and likeness and stuff out of WWE games slowly but surely. They've been trying to find a way to kind of not talk about Vince McMahon anymore at any capacity during WWE shows now. Um, it's just, we had the question of how does basically not abiding by an NDA would affect others. Now, if one NDA gets, destroyed, that I'm sure that doesn't mean, others are null and void in that fact as well. I could be completely wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but we knew it was going to get crazy. We didn't know how crazy, but we knew it was going to get nuts. And with Miss Grant and her, team coming out and basically trying to tell everyone that they can to come forward and speak about all of this. The more people that come out, the worse it's going to look for Vince McMahon. And
It is. It is.
given how many people probably know about his actions, I feel for guys like Triple H. I feel for guys like Shawn Michaels, all the legends and stuff like that that are there behind the scenes, because how do you not know that something's going on?
Or if
If
you or
that many people we already know that were listed and stuff like that knew what was going on, you really think, guys like Triple H in the boardroom, and Sean being in there now with NXT and all the production meetings and all the different types of interactions. I mean, shit, Triple H is married to Stephanie McMahon. You think he doesn't know shit that's going on, throughout that entire time? It's gonna be a wild scene. And I think it's gonna be one of the more viewed trials in a long time, because
oh, certainly, certainly. This is. I mean,
people people have been trying to nail Vince to the wall for a long time, and they haven't been able to make anything stick. But this right now is getting to that point where, ooh, buddy, it might all be coming back on you now. The
well,
devil's coming to collect his due.
well. As I said on episode 3, I said the feds have been trying to get Vince since Vince got away in '93 with the steroid scandal, with basically the Warrior and Hogan testifying and basically saving Vince's behind and Vince avoiding jail time. I, I think it's been well documented that the feds have been trying to get Vince ever since. And now with this coming out, as we said, we talked about the 67-page court document that was put out there. Like I said, we talked about how just reading some of this stuff and just what was going on is just you couldn't finish reading it because, as you said, as our guest last week, Maverick Bertram said, and of course what Mizzle said, is just when you're reading the stuff, you are hearing Vince's voice in character as Mr. McMahon. As you're reading this, it's like you hear it, you're just like, I don't want to hear this no more.
Yeah, it's cringy.
Yeah,
Cringy, for sure.
it's very cringy. But I will say this though, if you didn't see Cody Rhodes' press conference after the Royal Rumble, I think he gave the best answer you could possibly give when somebody asked about that, and he had the perfect answer because I mean, and you know this as well as I know this, being fans of the business, being fans of this art, and there's tension.
You're starting to cut in and out, Deb. Get a nice little screenshot right there. Click that. Get that frozen. There we go. Starting to clear
But
up a little bit better
I
there.
mean, but as I was saying, most locker rooms, as you know, have cliques, have disagreements. One side or the other. You're either on one side of the fence or the other. But this particular locker room for the last few years has really been a family type atmosphere and a family type locker room where it seems like they all genuinely like each other. And he just said, we'll all just pull through it and do it together, which I thought he gave a tremendous answer in regards to that. Different locker rooms of the past, I don't know how they would have handled something like this. And plus, there's still speculations of stuff that happened back in the 80s and in the heyday. So I mean, this is almost going on almost 40 plus years of accusations against Vince. And of course, we all forget the time that he was on the Phil Donahue show, to where him and Bruno Sammartino were going back and forth on Phil Donahue. And of course, as we know, the relationship between Bruno and Vince was strained for many, many years. And it took Triple H to get them back together to finally put Bruno in his rightful place in the Hall of Fame. And luckily, that got to happen before Bruno passed away. But I mean, it was like, how can you have? It's like, how can you not have an affiliation with Bruno Sammartino, which is the guy that, in a sense, put your dad's company on the map? I mean, when you, when you think about that arena, and here I go again, and here we go again.
You're cleared up now a little bit better. Yeah, no, it's just I keep seeing it on social media and everywhere that you can kind of see the news and everything that's going on. The find the word here. The exploitation, really, of women in the WWE and professional wrestling, for that matter. There are more stories about vile shit happening than there should be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going again across all promotions, not just the WWE, WCW, just the current indie programs, things that this goes across every bit of professional wrestling that there is. Now, what this is going to do, in my opinion, is one, by the time WrestleMania comes around, we are going to know a whole hell of a lot more about everything that has been going on. And the information that continues to keep coming out it gets worse and worse and worse and worse as it goes. So by the time WrestleMania comes around, there could be enough information out to where I wouldn't be surprised if you have protesters outside of WrestleMania throughout the weekend. And not just protesters. There may be a lot of sponsors that back out, because we have to remember what is one thing and one creation that is synonymous with Vince McMahon. It's WrestleMania. And if they're really trying to quote unquote erase the history, get as far away from Vince McMahon as they possibly can, it wouldn't shock me. Now, this is very far-fetched. Will this happen? Chances are probably not, because of the money and the brand and everything behind it. But again, depending on the information that comes out from now up until WrestleMania comes out, I would not be shocked if WrestleMania 40 would be the last time it would be titled that way. WrestleMania may not be titled WrestleMania anymore. If they're really trying to get away from the history of what of what Vince McMahon built and everything that he stood for, and that the biggest way you hurt him and get back at everything that he did, try to erase the history, is you take away the name that made him famous. You take away WrestleMania, you label it something else. I don't know what you would label it. I don't know what you would call it from here on out. But I wouldn't necessarily be shocked, given the severity of the situation. Again, trafficking, what we're really talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And the possibility, like, if more women come out and say that, yeah, this happened to them as well, and we this turns into a whole basically well-run criminal organization, a trafficking organization that could span internationally, because WWE does go international.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that are going into this that just looks ugly. It looks ugly.
And I mean, again, the ramifications, are just getting started because, again, like I said, we haven't even had a preliminary hearing yet. So who knows what more documents are going to come out, what's going to appear, what's not going to appear. I mean, you have to think this is going to trial. You just have to think that it is. Because I don't think there's going to be no settlement known to men that would not prevent this from going to trial.
Depending on what happens, Dub, and this is going to get really dark. Depending on the information comes out and what they have against him, I wouldn't be surprised if Vince passed away. Either some sort of medical condition, like heart attack or whatever, just some way, or either before or in the middle of. I don't think, because this is gonna go for a while.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna go for a long time, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, maybe, depending on how long and how much shit that they're gonna get up, and how long they're gonna go back, the timeline that they're gonna talk about it. I don't see, and Vince McMahon is what? He's in his late 70s right now.
He's 78. He just turned 78.
78 years old.
To which he's
it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me.
To which he's already outlived Vince Sr., because Vince Sr., I think, was 69 or 70 when he passed away back in 84. If I'm not mistaken, and I'll actually get the actual info on that.
The devil is coming to collect his due.
No, actually, Vince Sr. was 69 when he passed away back in 1984.
Oh.
Well, he wasn't even 70 yet.
So almost got 10 years.
Yeah, he passed away actually 2 months before his birthday, because Vince Sr. was born in July of 1914. And of course, from 1953 to 1982, ran what was known as the WWF, and then eventually the WWF, which now has turned into WWE, of course, paving the way for Vince Jr. So there we go with that. So, but how do you feel about this? How do you feel about John Laurinaitis saying that he also was a victim of Vince, according to Laurinaitis' lawyer?
A victim of what exactly? What exactly is he a victim of? in this case. What he did is he got in deep with an evil person because of the money and the promises that were coming. He sold his soul to Vince McMahon just as much as Vince McMahon sold his soul to the devil. He was a yes man through and fucking through.
For people power.
Yeah, he could have very much, turned around and ratted out, said something, a long
Yeah.
time ago. But
Mhm.
he was reaping the rewards from everything. So, what exactly was he a victim of? Was it like, oh, well, Vince McMahon's holding it over my head? Yeah, anybody would. What you're doing is highly illegal and evil. So yeah, anybody would hold it over your head. Would say like it. Oh, well, if you do this, then I'm gonna say what you. Okay, well, what you should have done is if that was the threat, you should have just came out and said it. See, at that point in time, you could have probably, got a little bit minimum jail because again, you still aided in everything. Whether you felt like he was forcing you to. I don't believe for one second that Laurinaitis was forced to do any of this shit. He wasn't forced to tell Vince McMahon, as of these text messages, again, this is all alleged, but as of these text messages, what they say, you know, if he was that scared of Vince McMahon, he wouldn't be asking, Johnny wouldn't be asking for time a few times during the week, especially on Saturdays. Okay, so you're not a fucking victim if you're partaking, especially that way. Like that. So him going this, well, I'm a victim of Vince McMahon too. Fuck that shit. Fuck that noise. That is the biggest. Like if John Laurinaitis wanted to basically give him a precursor kick in the dick before this whole trial was supposed to even happen, if he was going to get crucified before the trial even happened, this was a hell of a way to do it. Because nobody for one damn second is going to believe that John Laurinaitis is a victim of anything. I do not believe that one second. A victim? What victims do you know partake in the evil? What victims do you know schedule time to torment somebody? Victims don't do that. So I don't. That whole thing, I was like, yeah, no, Laurinaitis, he's trying to cover his own ass. He's probably going to, at this point, he's going to dump everything. Laurinaitis is going to become the biggest rat, and he's going to be probably become the biggest star witness for the prosecution to avoid jail time, whatever, to get immunity, whatever it is that he's going to have to get. He's going to cover his ass because this type of shit you don't get out of jail for. And prisoners inside of these jail cells, prison cells, don't take kindly to people who do shit like this. So he's going to do everything in his power to get as minimal jail time as he possibly can. So he covered his ass now, said, I'm a victim of Vince, and now he's probably going to take the stand for the prosecution and just dump everything. Everything. So, but again, I don't think he's going to avoid some sort of punishment. Because again, he partook in a lot of what was going on willfully. So like again, I don't buy the victim shit, but I do definitely know that he's going to be the biggest rat in this entire thing. So like I said, for Vince, if he somehow survives this whole thing, then he might, there would be a possibility that he could be innocent. But like I said, depending on everything that comes out, depending on how crazy and gruesome and disgusting it gets, and the more like factual evidence that comes out, not hearsay shit, like factual evidence that comes out, he might not make it. He will not give that family or that woman their justice, because that's not being in control. That's not how this man does. He's going to do it on his own time. So that's just, again, that sounds really dark. I understand that, because we're talking about somebody dying, but evil like this, I don't necessarily have a whole hell of a lot of sympathy for. To be quite honest with you, wouldn't matter to me either way what happened to individuals like this. So, but again, if he's innocent, and we said it here, if he's innocent, they go over the facts, they do everything. It comes out that he's actually innocent of all these, he didn't do any of this shit. Then it is what it is. He'll be back on the board. WWE will probably go back to the same way it used to be, with him calling the shots behind the gorilla. And he'll live till he's at 125, because he's going to figure out some sort of way to stay alive forever and run the company. And that'll be the future of WWE, at least for the next 50 years or so.
Have you heard the story of how he does not like
to sneeze? I didn't hear the last part.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't like. Yeah, no, he gets upset when people sneeze because they're losing control.
Yes.
Now,
Because he does not like being in control. That's why he hates sneezing.
Which, honestly, to me, I'm like, there's no way this man has never sneezed in his life, ever.
I know.
I feel like that is a physical impossibility.
Yes.
That he has never sneezed one time in his life. But to hate that, it just, like, the guy's been power hungry and control hungry forever. This is not anything new with Vince.
No.
It's just the extent of how far that type of greed and power hungriness goes to. And it went so far as to possibly, and again, I'm saying allegedly, trafficking people, talent possibly. Because I wouldn't be surprised if former talent come out and say, "Oh yeah, you pimped me out to I don't know how many wrestlers, I don't know how many promoters, I don't know how many different." Oh yeah, I keep seeing that Stephanie McMahon promo, and it makes me cringe. I'm literally sitting here going like, I don't even know if that's faking. That could be a huge possibility that actually happened. 17 years, honestly, to be completely honest, let's this is kind of one of those definitions of hiding in plain sight type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because who honestly would admit on live television that you pimped out your daughter when she was 17 years old, having to do things with them that she didn't want to do? That's what she said in the promo. Why would you want that? I get wanting to get the heat of the evil boss and everything like that, but that's a detail that's not something that you just make up out of the top of your head.
But now let's throw this curveball in here. You talk about that promo, and this brings up the whole other situation is now, did her and Macho Man really do something behind the scenes? Because now that'll boggle other people's curiosity. Well, if you're talking about this, then doggone it.
It opens the door for conspiracy theories to possibly become truths. Because this is the type of stuff that sheds light. So this is the type of situation that sheds light on those conspiracies and makes them possible. Because before it was kind of like everyone had like some sort of an assumption. But when that assumption goes on for however many years, and now that assumption, this many years later, turns into something that was actually going on, man, this
Well, I mean, look this
go ahead.
way. Your audience is 40% women. So, just think about that demographic. 40% of
And
your
the talent the talent
40%.
that's putting the best work out right now is your female talent as well.
Yes. Yes. I mean, how many times? And like I said, Mizzle talked about this on episode 3 many times. Like a lot of times, your best matches on the pay-per-view have been the women matches. I mean, you think about it, since the Royal Rumble has now gone to a men's Royal Rumble and a women's Rumble, how many times over the last few years that the women's Rumble was actually better than the men's?
At least the last 2 to 3. At least this one for sure.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you
Happened this
bring
past
back
weekend was.
you bring back Mrs. Jimmy Uso and Naomi. You bring back Mrs. Fatu. You bring the TNA champion in there. Then you have the much anticipated debut of Jade Cargill. And then the stare down between her and Bianca, the stare down between Jade and Nia Jax. I mean, the whole atmosphere at Tropicana Field in Tampa, St. Pete, was on a standstill with those two particular moments involving Jade and Bianca and Jade and Nia Jax. I mean, which probably leads you to believe that probably the women are going to steal the show at WrestleMania yet again, because that's just what it seems to happen.
Well, I mean, whatever match Bianca Belair is going to be the match that steals the show. I've said this before. She is the female version of Shawn Michaels. She can do no wrong when it comes to the big stage at WrestleMania.
Whoa, that is
Like,
very high. That is very high praise comparing somebody to Michael Higginbotham. That is very high praise.
She's Mrs. WrestleMania. She's Mrs. WrestleMania, honestly, because
even more than Charlotte.
She comes out, I think more so than Charlotte, because Charlotte is kind of like, yeah, she's put on good matches, but like some of it has been a little force fed, because we know with the Flair name they kind of want to get that world title record around the same.
Yes,
you know,
you're not wrong.
She should have lost to Asuka that first time. I think Asuka's reign at that point should have hit WrestleMania, gone a little bit further, and maybe then you can take, finally get her first loss, somewhere down the line, SummerSlam, or even the next WrestleMania, if you plan it right.
They messed up her streak just like WCW did Goldberg. Absolutely, you're not wrong.
And they would take the title off her during Raws and SmackDowns, just to put the title back on her at a pay-per-view. Like, if she lost the title, she never lost it for very long,
No.
and she was always in the mix, for the title since she got onto the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
Now Bianca had to do a little bit more work than that to get the spotlight, to be able to learn how to work, to be able to do effective promos. She's gotten over with the crowd. Her entrances at WrestleMania are always great, and her matches have always been good at WrestleMania. Her and Sasha Banks' match to main event night one, a few years ago. Like,
WrestleMania
that
37.
was,
WrestleMania 37.
you
Yes.
know, that match was insane. I was looking at that match going like, this is up there with Sasha Bailey. This is up there with that type of match, from NXT Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this brings a lot of emotion, because that's what she does. She brings a lot of the emotion into what's going on. And she's powerful. She has the look. She's athletic as shit. She knows how to work the crowd. She knows how to work with pretty much any other female athlete that's in there. And I think with her, you can just print fucking money. When you go to WrestleMania, whatever match that Bianca Belair is in,
You're gonna get your money's
you
worth. For
better,
sure.
if you're not to just get your money's worth, but if you're one of those talents, you better hope to God you're not following.
Yeah.
You may not
Yeah.
want to follow that match, or you may
No.
want to get a match or two after, because the buzz around that match, nobody's going to give a damn about what you just did.
I,
In
I'll say it like I'll say it like this, and this is a great analogy. I go into a pay-per-view and I always ask this question, okay, which match is gonna give me Steamboat Savage? Which match down on the card is gonna give me Steamboat Savage? What match is gonna give me that feeling? Because as people have asked me, I said they've always asked me, what's your favorite WrestleMania match of all time? I said, number one, until the day I die, it will forever be Steamboat Savage, WrestleMania 3. Just because the build up, the pageantry, and just the back and forth, the near falls, and just the pure poetry that those two gave. And I mean, and the sad thing about it is, and even Steamboat has said this years down the road, he said, Randy was looking to have that match again, and he can never get it back, and he can never have that match again because he just couldn't. He thought he could with Shawn Michaels because he begged Vince to have a 2-year program with Shawn Michaels to make Shawn Michaels an even bigger star, but Vince wouldn't fall for it. Of course, that's where Randy went to WCW. But every time I look at an event, it's like, who's going to give me that Steamboat Savage feeling? And a lot of times, it's when the women are out there doing it.
And Bianca's mainly part of those matches.
That she has. That she has.
She's just an unreal and this is another reason why I say her and Jade would be a fucking money match, because as green as we still think Jade may be, she still has about 5 years experience. At least she went through that AEW run. She's got the experience from the indie circuit, so she's not like green.
No.
But learning the WWE system is obviously very different and stuff, so getting into that. But by the time WrestleMania comes around, even if she's still a little unpolished, Bianca is talented enough to be able to carry it.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
she's gonna make Jade look like a fucking $1 million.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's why I'm like, only Bianca Belair can make Jade look like $1 million at WrestleMania. As good as Charlotte is, I'm sorry, she would not make Jade look that good at WrestleMania. She would probably end up fucking around and finding a way, to either somebody will just politic it or some way to where, Jade should go over, but Charlotte would end up going over. I think with Bianca, she is good enough because again, Shawn Michaels great at WrestleMania. Did he win every WrestleMania fight? No, he didn't.
No, I mean, actually,
he didn't go over all the time.
No, actually, his record is one of the poorest WrestleMania records of all time. If you want to look at it,
but the performance,
yes,
behind everything.
We always talk about, but of course, one of the lasting images is him jumping off the ladder at WrestleMania 10 in the ladder match against Razor Ramon for the IC title. That's that.
People forget he lost that match.
Yes. I mean,
that iconic view ended with Razor Ramon holding both of those titles.
Yes. Well, look at it this way. Like, okay, his first singles match was WrestleMania 8 against Tito Santana, and he won that one. But then he was lost DQ against Tatanka WrestleMania 9, lost to Razor at WrestleMania 10. Lost to Diesel, so he was on a 3-match losing streak per se, and then finally goes over, against Bret in the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, so on and so forth.
The boyhood dream comes true.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't even appear at WrestleMania 13. Of course, puts over Austin, and then we don't see him for 4 more years. Then he doesn't come back until WrestleMania, I want to say 19, to where he had the great match with Jericho. Then the 3-way dance for WrestleMania 20, and then the match he had with
iconic matches with the Undertaker and Kurt Angle. The Kurt Angle one, yes, but the Undertaker match for me, I was wow.
Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, I think, is one of the most underrated matches that really does not get talked about enough.
That's true. That's true. That was also very, very technically well done match.
Yeah, it was one of the best. It was by far one of his best matches in his comeback when he came back after his bad back injury after that 4-year thing. But I mean, you're right. So speaking of the Rumble, as we know, Cody and Bayley will punch their tickets, as Cody will try to finish the story, and Bayley, who has done a lot of things, finally gets her due as the Royal Rumble winner. But kind of weird that Cody, it seemed like the night of the Rumble when he won it, he was pointing at Roman Reigns in Sweden saying, "I'm finishing the story with you," and then chooses instead to go against Seth, even though Seth is going to be out with the torn meniscus and the MCL, so we don't know if Seth is even going to be ready for WrestleMania.
Wait, Cody officially chose Seth?
Hold on. Well, that's the thing that
I thought it was something that Seth was like he was conversating with him. I hope to God they didn't make it official, because if they made it official, that's gonna, oh my Lord, that's gonna throw so much shit off. That's gonna ruin Cody's story. The whole finish the story, that's gonna ruin everything. You're not finishing the story against Seth. You're finishing the story against Roman. And why point at Roman Reigns, call out Roman Reigns, especially during the press conference? I'm coming after you to finish the story. And then a few weeks later on Raw, declare that you're going to go after Seth? That doesn't make any sense. That would completely ruin the momentum that he had. All because, and then I saw a meme. It's like, oh yeah, would you take Cody and Seth if that meant having The Rock and Roman? I'm like, no.
So this is according to Bleach Report. So supposedly, Rhodes versus Rollins is not scheduled for WrestleMania 40. So there still is the chance, however, that Rhodes and Roman will once again tell the story at WrestleMania 40. So it
It's gotta be.
so
It,
it
it can't
appears
it can't be it can't be The Rock and Roman because
not enough
one,
not
we
enough
know who's
time,
gonna win the match.
not enough time. Well, not only that, not enough time, not enough buildup. And then Dwayne said, if I'm going to do this, I want this to build up to a huge payoff. And I'm sorry, 2 months would not be a huge buildup because again, with the whole Rock buildup in back-to-back WrestleManias and each man trading off wins. But again, it was the year buildup to that. For example, the buildup between Hollywood Hogan and Sting at Starrcade '97, it was almost a year of a buildup to the event itself, and that has to happen because, as you know, Dwayne is not going to do anything half-ass,
Mm-mm.
especially when it comes to him being involved in trying to promote a match. And given the fact that
Especially at WrestleMania.
yes, so the buildup between him and Roman, it would be a 1 year buildup, and there you go. There goes your sponsorships and make all your money. So if it's gonna take place, possibly it might take place at WrestleMania 41. We don't know, but like I said, I mean, in
You
order
think
for Cody to in order
because
for Cody to complete his version of hard times, if you will, it has to be against Roman Reigns for the title in public, if you will, on the mothership.
do you, here's the question. Do you
Okay.
think let's just say if it's to have that build up and everything, or I'm just throwing it out there. Is it better to have Cody go over clean or is it better to have maybe so let Rock and Roman are going at it. We know the bloodline is going to get involved somehow, somewhere. We just know it's going to happen. Solo's going to have to somehow get involved. Jimmy may somehow get involved. It's going to be an overbook thing. But for it to be that buildup, The Rock is going to have to get involved somehow, somewhere. And that getting involved is going to be basically he's going to come in and wipe out the bloodline. He's going to take out Sokoa. He's going to take out Jimmy, and then he's going to take out Roman, put Cody over him. Boom, 1, 2, 3. Cody wins the title, finishes the story, and then The Rock and Roman get to have their year-long build-up till 41 to kind of do it the right way that way.
That is
Isn't The Rock going?
that
I
is
hope it happens that way. I hope it happens that way, Tori. I honestly do because I do not want to see for this one. Again, that would make no sense to literally end the Royal Rumble, pointing and yelling at Roman Reigns that I want you, having all these social media posts of Roman, freaking the fuck out, eyes bugged wide open, as the result, and then a few weeks down the line turn it into Cody versus Seth just because Punk got hurt. Well, Seth's hurt too, so that's two options that again, you're not going to be able to finish the story against Rollins. It's not the same. You can't call him out and then not fulfill it just to do a half-ass job with The Rock that nobody will believe is going to happen, or not so much as happen. Nobody believe it's going to end with The Rock hoisting everything up. The Rock is going to have to cost Roman the title at WrestleMania 40 for that year-long build-up for 41. That's that again, because like you said, The Rock is not going to do it half-assed. If he's going to do it,
No.
he's going to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And a fight for the head of the table should not take 2 months.
No.
I want to see them take that for about as long as they took the Sami Zayn storyline. That year and a half, build up until that point. Like, that's how I want to see the fight for the head of the table. Now, we probably all know what the end result of that fight is going to be, but nonetheless, to make it look good, you have to build it and put scenarios and situations in that make it worth people wanting to watch. And I don't think putting Cody against Rollins and The Rock against Roman at 40 is going to be that. It's gonna ruin a lot of storylines. It's gonna ruin a lot of things. And for 40 being a 10-year mark WrestleMania, it has to be big. You can't half-ass this one. You can't flop on this one, especially with everything that's going on. With everything that's going on with Vince and everything that's going to be coming on with these court cases, the subpoenas that are going to be hit, everybody and their mama is going to be taken in to one of these hearings to testify. Everybody is going to be involved somehow, some way. If you go in and flop WrestleMania 40, it's a new day. Yes, it is, because it is definitely going to be a new day in professional fucking wrestling if that happens. It's going to be a wild scene. But the Rumble, I think, for the women's Rumble,
Well, real
I'm not
quickly,
gonna lie, I didn't necessarily see Bayley coming.
I don't think nobody did, but let's just go over the results real quick because there was only 4 matches on the entire pay-per-view. Which again, Women's Royal Rumble.
Tori really wants to. I can keep talking about it. To what do we actually think? Like, look, to touch on it real quick, we are very firm believers of innocent until proven guilty. But with everything that's come out, it is very hard not to look at this and go, "Ooh, old man, you're fucked." Like, hey, it's not looking good for you, my guy. It's not.
And the fact that now you're slowly taking out Brock's likeness in WWE 2K video games, is now you got that hanging over his head, and then you had Braun Breaker, aka Rick Steiner's son, basically as his replacement in the Rumble, taking his spot. Is like, well, doggone it, Brock. What role did you play, if anything, in this possible scandal situation? I'm
very much like Brian. I'm very much like Brian. I did not need to wake up that morning and know what Brock Lesnar's fetish was. Did not need to know.
Yeah.
Did not need to know that day. And didn't really need to know ever. To be completely honest.
Yeah.
But
so real quickly,
a fetish is one thing, but fuck, in this way is just completely like, this is some diabolical shit, people.
Yeah, it's like I did need to know R. Kelly likes to urinate on people, even though Dave Chappelle made one of the greatest mock videos of all time, and it was funny as hell. It really was. God bless Chappelle. But it's like, I didn't need to know that the Pied Piper of R&B likes to, give golden showers and go drip, drip, drip. I could have gone the rest of my life not knowing
Oh, we
that.
knew that. Everybody knew that before the skit. The skit
Yes.
just made the whole situation even
Yes,
more
it did.
ridiculous.
Yes, it
But
did.
the fact that Brock Lesnar is even involved in this type of stuff is like you you really need to understand how deep and how far this goes. How many people are involved with the dealings? Because guess who else starts to pop up with the name Brock Lesnar when he came back into the WWE? I'll give you a hint. His nickname right now is the Wise Man.
Oh Lord. Paul
You
Lee,
see what I
really?
mean?
Paul,
Yeah. Look, look. Paul Heyman, when he said advocate, he's not. He is a good friend of Brock Lesnar.
yes, he is. Yes, he is.
He is somebody who was a voice of reason going back when he went back to UFC and everything. Him and Paul and Brock Lesnar actually have a very close relationship.
Yes, they do.
So to think that Paul didn't have some sort of notion that something was going on. Paul was with him damn near everywhere he went.
Correct.
Hitting the road together, literally damn near everywhere he went, Paul was there. So that's what I'm saying. Like names are going to start to pop up that a lot of us, and you know what? And that's a lot of these things happen, especially like when the Bill Cosby thing came up, and a lot of all these people you idolize, people that have in a lot of people's eyes have done good things. When it comes out that they've done heinous stuff, it really is hard to realize that somebody that you kind of looked up to is a complete and total piece of trash. It's really hard to kind of deal with those situations. So when you see somebody like Paul Heyman, who is an absolute force, we have said or at least I have said, he's the greatest, manager of all time, talking wise, anything that you could really say about Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman is one of the greatest minds ever in the business. And like I said, he had tremendous teachers. He learned from the Grand Wizard, classy Freddie Blassie, and of course, he talks at high revere about Dusty Rhodes because he learned so much from Dusty. Of course, he says that Jim Ross is his mentor because he learned so much from JR. So I mean, Paul really is, as Jarrett said many times, Paul Heyman really has been a student of the game, like Triple H has been. That is a very good question. It's hard not to. It's hard not to say no. It's hard not to say that that's going to happen because, again, you can't kick out one, do the same to the other. Because when Hulk Hogan was going through his situation, they took everything of Hulk Hogan out. You saw nothing of Hulk Hogan on WWE programming. You didn't see it. I mean, yeah, you can't take away his matches because his matches are still there, but all of his gear, his stuff, you did not see it, and thus eventually he got back.
And that's why.
Thus eventually he got back in the good graces, and obviously he's back on. The Now Together Forever. You see his likeness and you see his stuff in there along with his merchandise. But it's like
his speech with the locker room, and he's forgiven.
Yes. So, or well, for some, it's not because I know the New Day really has nothing to say about him. But
He was forgiven by the higher ups, so I didn't mean the talent whatsoever.
I I know, but I mean, he has. Well, I hope he's serious because he did give his life to Christ, and if he's really on that path, God bless him. Um, so I mean,
I hope so.
we'll see. Because
Can't be having videos like that be surfacing again.
well, I mean, I'm not one to question a man's faith because I myself am a man of faith. So I know I take that very seriously. So for those that want to try to go down that path, if you're serious about it, God bless you. Just don't don't play around with the man upstairs because it's just something that's not beneficial for your health. I'm just trying to
Not
tell
good.
you. But however,
But
that's
Tori,
not
real
good.
quick, I had gone as far as to say that because of the fact that Vince McMahon is no longer, really the owner or anything, chairman, anything of the WWE, depending on how much more information comes out, they're going to be pulling a whole lot more than just merchandise. They are going to, and again, this is a very, out there thinking idea because again, the name of it itself brings in a lot of money. There's a lot of history that comes with the name. But if you're going to go that route, what they did with Hogan, what they did with Benoit, trying to erase the history and everything else like that, what you're going to have to do is erase the biggest link of history to Vince McMahon, and that is WrestleMania. If that's really what they're going to do, taking out the name WrestleMania and rebranding it as something else, I don't know what they would rebrand it as, but depending on what comes out, I would not be shocked to see TKO make that move and just, yeah. Hey, they might go the UFC route and just say like, oh, the WWE 41, WWE 42, just kind of go around like UFC does with their pay-per-views. They just have the numbers next to them.
That would
So
be weird
they
not
may
to
go
see
that route.
that would be weird not to see a SummerSlam or a Survivor Series or a Royal Rumble. That would just that would just be mind boggling.
They might still have those titles, but it'll still be like WWE like for example 245 or whatever. But like the title underneath it like would still be, this is the Royal Rumble, this is this and that. But for WrestleMania, they're going to change it into something else because again, if you're really trying to go for history, if that's your target, the biggest thing associated with the person you're trying to get rid of is the WrestleMania name. You have it on, the intro blocks every fucking wrestler. Welcome to WrestleMania. You have that every fucking year. Never gonna have to be able to. You're never gonna be able to use that again. That voice. You're never gonna be able to use really anything. The Vince McMahon dancing in the '80s with Hulk Hogan with the guitar and all that other kind of. You're not gonna see that shit no more. Like all of that stuff is gone. Any remnants, any history that you're trying to get rid of, if that's the route that they're going to take, you got to go for everything. And if that means basically filtering out your library and rebranding pretty much everything, I wouldn't be shocked, especially if the allegations and the information don't on the titles of they basically can if they want to.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll fuck with the Royal Rumble and SummerSlam or anything else like that. But like I said, like the biggest name attached to Vince McMahon is WrestleMania. And that would be you talk about the biggest blow to the McMahon family. taking away the brand of WrestleMania would be that. And it's just, again, that's a very far fetched idea. That's a very well think way of thinking. But as of right now, with the information that they have, they're not really going to do anything with it. But now until WrestleMania, depending on how much more information comes out, because in a week from last Thursday to this Thursday, a whole hell of a lot more information has come out. So you mean to tell me from a month or two from now, we're not going to have even more information and even more crazy shit that's going down? That's what I'm saying. These decisions, you're going to lose sponsors. You're going to lose sponsors 100%. And then on top of, and these sponsors are basically going to force you to make a decision. And I think that decision is going to be filtering out a lot of the history of the video of Vince McMahon, being on camera. A lot of the Attitude Era stuff that when it came to how they represented women in, some of these the bra and panties matches, all of these other, matches and stuff that they had back then, all of that's gone. All of that's going to get erased. Any sort of hint of exploitation or anything else like that is going to be gone. So it just there's so much. That's what I'm saying. It kind of basically almost will null and void the history of the Attitude Era. It's going to damage the front half of the Ruthless Aggression Era, and it's going to be damaging to a lot of the history. And that's what I think is going to be the hardest thing for pro wrestling fans to realize, is that this entire time we've been sitting here putting our money, our time, our emotions, our attention into a product that we've all grown up to love and really appreciate, even into our adulthood, to see something like this come out, especially with the history and allegations and bullshit that has already been prominent in the pro wrestling world. For this to come out sends shockwaves down my spine that I'm like, a part of me goes, I don't want to invest any more time in it. But then again, that's not fair to the people who had nothing to do with it, for the talent that had nothing to do with it, who've been working their asses off to get to this point, to put on these great matches for everybody and stuff. Whoever's involved, all of them go to jail, all of them go to hell, don't give a fuck. For those who were not involved, you still got to look out for them. For those who are actually doing it the right way, you still got to look out for them. You still got to make sure that everything's, good for them. So yeah, a part of me is very much in the realm of, you know what, fuck this. Like, why would I want to Ring Psychology? I can turn Ring Psychology into a boxing MMA podcast. I can just rebrand it that way. If we really wanted to get down to it, because there's a whole hell of a lot of Ring Psychology that comes down to boxing and MMA. We could rebrand it that way. But again, it's not fair to the men and women who have been doing it the right way, putting their bodies on the line and trying to put up a product that, again, a lot of us have grown up to love and appreciate. So I love and appreciate those, men and women who are doing that. But again, to the ones who are doing it the wrong way and doing all of this crazy shit in the background behind the scenes, like, that's just wild to me. So yeah, it tarnishes a lot. It opens my eyes to a lot as well. sometimes I go back and see some of these, old their best ofs and stuff like all that they have on Peacock. You go back to their Attitude Era stuff, and it's just like now of what we know, it's tough watching some of that now. It's real tough watching some of the Attitude Era footage without going, oh Lord. The Godfather's character now is a little off-putting to me. Um, it just it ruins a lot. Deb, like I'm sure it ruins a good bit amount for you, but I can speak for myself. But like for you, how does this all kind of affect your outlook?
And I mean,
right?
And I mean, Charles Wright played the Godfather well to a T. He played the character well, but now it's just like, and I know for a lot of people, perception is reality. But for those of us that have been a fan of the sport, we know that we can separate the person from the character. A lot of us can anyway. I mean, Charles Wright's is just a down to earth guy that runs dispensaries and is doing his thing here in Vegas.
Has fun and smokes shit out of weed. That's all he does.
That's not. I mean, that's not what it is. I mean, and now, since he retired, we're now understanding what kind of a person Mark Calloway is, the Undertaker, because we never knew because he never broke kayfabe. But now you're starting to get an insight into who he is as a human being. For example, Stone Cold is. Stone Cold likes to hunt and likes to be on shows and just drive muscle cars, so on and so forth. We know who Dwayne is. Dwayne beats in Hollywood, but actually Dwayne is always giving back to his community. I mean, heck, he bought his own stunt double a truck because he's just that person that just shows gratitude to a lot of people. So I mean,
he's got a strike with me with the whole Oprah thing in Hawaii. He's got one strike with me right now. With the wildfire and everything that happened in Hawaii. When he did that one, I was like, all right, Rocky, you're getting a little bit too close to the shit list. All right, that's playing a little too close to the fire with that one. You need to relax.
Well, we're not going to
talk. He's done a lot better since then, but goddamn.
Well, we're not going to talk about Oprah and Epstein Island, but that's a whole nother story for another day. But you didn't hear that from me, folks. But,
don't get involved with Oprah, Rocky. Stay away. Stay away. That is not a can of worms you want to be dealing with. I promise you, sir. Do not do it.
Because I'm pretty sure she's paying a lot of people a lot of hush money, but that's another story for another day. But I mean, yeah, I mean some of the things now, and I mean, for that time, the Attitude Era had to happen for the WWF at that time, the WWF, because WCW was beating them. They were beating them for 83 straight weeks in the ratings, and then Vince had to go that route.
Heard about it? No. Seen it?
No, have not.
Haven't either. Haven't had any confirmation of that. I mean, I'm very much again. I've gotten so tired and exhausted with politics over the years and how people deal with politics. I am very much what you do on your own time, behind closed doors in your house, and whatever that's you. That's fine. If you and I click, we're cool with each other. We know how to kind of separate likes and dislikes and stuff like that. But that's fine. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what you do or anything. I mean, certain points, like yes, there is a line to be drawn. Let's not. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to buddy up with the fucking Proud Boy. Okay, I'm not going to be doing that shit. You know, I'm not going to be kicking it with a KKK member just because him and I like the same team. Like, no, I'm not. There's definitely fucking lines that you cannot cross. But when
we
it
can we
comes to
can we can we
certain,
can always we can always agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, um, don't. If I respect you, respect me back. If I give you that
100%,
respect, give it back to me. If I show respect, all I'm asking for is the same in return. Because
yeah,
once the disrespect kicks in, then I'm sorry, we have nothing to talk about. We have nothing to associate with. Because I
yeah,
mean, we can agree to disagree all day long, but at
of
the end of,
course,
but at the end of the day, um, like my grandfather always said, at the end of the day, I'm still responsible for how I treat you. So if I give you that respect, man to man, human to human, I expect the same in return. Because I mean,
yeah,
we're not gonna agree on we're not going to agree on every single solitary thing. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
I respect you as a human being, as a man. You respect me as a human being, as a man. That's just the bottom line.
yeah. You can't again depending on people. What people have different wants and needs. That's why people do their politics the way they do. People grow up a certain way, so that's why how they see the different. What I want people to do is just be more educated. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want. Just be more educated. Know what you're talking about. Don't talk out of the side of your neck or out of your ass. No, like nobody likes talking to people who do that. Okay, regardless of what side you belong on, left or right. When you're talking out of your ass, you have no idea what you're fucking talking about. People are not going to listen to you, and everyone's going to think you're a fucking idiot. So just be educated, know what you're talking about, and at the end of the day, if you and I are cool, you and I are cool. Don't give a shit. Hey, you like Trump? I don't. You do. But hey, we still like the same team. We have a whole hell of a lot more, likes and stuff like that than just one fucking political leader who, at the end of the day, we both kind of realize, yeah, they don't really give a shit about us no matter how we really look at it.
Factual statements,
So,
which is why.
so it's kind of one of those like you don't let these types of things divide you because that's what they want.
But also,
That's the whole
folks,
point.
this is where you need to pay attention. It's not about the presidency, because, as I've said so many times, the president can only do what Congress allows him to do. That's what people don't understand. I mean, yeah, they say he's the most powerful person in the world, but he's only allowed to do things and put things in law with only because Congress allows him. If you really want to talk about change, you have to understand who your senators are and who your congressmen and who your congresswoman is. That's where you need to pay attention on who you're putting in there in the Senate and the House. It's your senators and your congressmen and congresswomen that you really have to research and pay attention about. Not the presidency, your congressmen, your congresswoman, and your senators. But again, what do
La-
I know? What do I know? I just do podcasts with my good friend JP. That's about it. I know
Glass
nothing.
right wearing a blue line with a Texas state on it with the blue line across it. Okay, well, look, I'm being somebody from Texas. Again, there are people in Texas. Shit, I do not disagree. I disagree with them. They disagree with me. We're, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everybody's cool. Again, when we really sit down to think about it, we focus so much on the negative, we don't really realize we have more shit in common than we don't. And if you sit there and harp on one fucking negative, you're never going to be able to actually get to know the person, and that person might be actually, the godsend friend or whatever that you were looking for. Somebody
I
who
know.
can kind of keep it straight with you, keep it, like be able to kind of challenge you in certain ways or whatever. It's letting this shit divide us as a country is
I
problematic.
know. I know there are some people that do not like the boys in blue. I understand it. I get it. I know there's been a lot of stuff done against people of black and brown of color of their skin by the police. I get it. I understand it. Okay. Not every person that wears the blue uniform, that takes an oath to serve and protect. Not all of them are bad. Yes, there are some bad apples that make the department look bad, but there are very good, honorable men and women in law enforcement that do uphold the integrity of the badge. And I know that's become lost in all the stuff that has happened with police
Bullshit.
brutality. Again, I get it. I understand it. Like I said, I have a very good friend of mine that is a corrections officer. Actually, there's two people I know that are correctional officers, and I pray
My
for them
brother-in-law
daily
is a corrections
because,
officer.
as they say, you're in my house visiting. You're just visiting. They get to go home. You're in their house. That's what an inmate will tell you. You in my house. You visiting. You in my house. So I mean, here's the thing. People support what causes they're going to support. Okay. At the end of the day, that does not make them a bad person. That does not make them evil and whatnot. That's just something they support. Okay. If you don't support that, that's fine. That is your interpretation. That is your right as a citizen of this country that is the United States of America. That's his choice. But like I said, at the end of the day, you like what you like. I like what I like. But at the end of the day, I respect you as a person and a human being. You respect me and a person and a human being. And we'll shake hands and call it a day and go have a beer somewhere. That's just what it is to it.
Yep. Getting back to the road. We went off on a full one. I mean, first of all, thank you, Tori, for the questions.
Tori,
keep it in the comment. Appreciate that.
Tori, to answer your question, yes, I do have one story.
Yeah, that's a good one.
At my 9 to 5 job, I had the privilege of meeting and having a conversation with D'Lo Brown and got to talk to him for about 10-15 minutes. One of the classiest gentlemen you would ever want to meet. Was very, very nice. Answered all the questions that I could possibly ask him. One of the first questions I asked him was, okay, why was it always you taking the big bumps during the Ahmed Johnson, Ron Simmons view? Why was it always you going through the tables? And then he gave me a very great answer because he said, because they trusted me to make it look good on TV with the spots. And I was like, that is a heck of an answer. That is a very good answer. And obviously he talked about who was stiff, who was not stiff. He was like, some people I would trust with my life in the ring, some I would not. But I mean, D'Lo Brown was a very, very fun interview. Got to check the man, so I had a great conversation. That's definitely he's cool in my book. Another story I had was same job. Mark Henry walks up to us in the kitchen, and my coworker's like, dude, it's Sexual Chocolate. So he comes up and talks to the kitchen, and he's like, guys, don't burn my wings, okay? And it was like, we got you, Mark. Don't worry about it. So needless to say, we did not
burn my wings.
We didn't burn his wings, but Mark Henry was very, very cool. Came up and talked to us, which was pretty cool. Also, the late Brody Lee and Dolph Ziggler also came to my job to 8, and I went through and I'm like, oh, that's really them. I didn't say anything to them because it just looked like they got out of the gym and got done working out, because most of us fans that have been fans for years, we kind of know, you know what? If they're in a setting and they're eating, don't mess with them because they just probably want to be alone and they just want to eat. Now, unless they, yes, he did. Yes, Mark Henry enjoyed his wings. He actually tipped his server very nicely, so she got the chance to make some money. So that was good for her. But Mark Henry was really cool coming up and talking to us. Yeah. Looking at it in hindsight now, I kind of regret not saying anything, because eventually we all know that Brody Lee passed away shortly after that. So it kind of sucks that I didn't get the chance to say anything to him. But the fact is that him and Dolph Ziggler were there eating having wings at my restaurant that I do the 9 to 5 job at, which was pretty cool. So I mean, it's always a fun thing to see. But
I
those
I
are
have
those are my two stories of being up and close with Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown.
those are way better than mine because I don't have I have more stories of meeting like other like football players or like baseball players. Like I have more stories of that than I do wrestlers. Even though I've been to a lot of live shows and everything else like that, I haven't really had the opportunity to meet any of them or like run into them personally. The only story that I really have that always sticks into my head was the fact that we thought we were going to blow up inside the SAP Center because we were at the Great American Bash, and my buddy Adam looks over to the right and he sees a red blinking light.
Oh, that's dope, Tori.
And
That is real dope.
um,
That is awesome.
Jamie hit. See, y'all are lucky. That's what I'm saying. Like you guys have had a chance. I mean, I know I'll probably get my chance at some point. At some point, it'll happen. At some point, it'll happen. I'll be able to kind of have that conversation that I've always wanted to have with certain wrestlers.
Well,
But
I'm still
yeah,
I'm still lightweight jealous that Matt Ryan, our good friend Matt Ryan, actually got to take a picture and talk with Jim Ross. So there's
Matt
there,
Ryan has gotten to meet and talk to people that the fact that I'm even talking to Matt Ryan, I can kind of live vicariously through him a little bit.
yeah.
I can kind of be like, yeah, I know these guys because I know Matt Ryan. Yeah. Like he knows so many people. It's pretty wild. Like we need
But
to get him on the show. Obviously, certain circumstances,
yes,
we
yes.
need to have. But yeah,
But
we need to definitely get him to hear his stories.
But I will say the one high, and I still say this to this day. The one highlight of my young broadcasting career is still having former head coach of the Vikings, Mike Tice, and his tall 6'8" self just video bombing me and the Vikings Scott McCorkle at the A7 championship game where we're doing a segment and we're like, "Oh, hi, Coach Tice, how are you?" I'm just like, that is a very, very tall man. But
A lot of memorable things. And speaking of memorable, the men's Royal Rumble was not very memorable.
no.
I thought with the women's Royal Rumble, I thought they did it brilliantly because they only advertised 4 women that were going to be guaranteed in there.
Mm-hmm.
So out of all the 30, it's kind of like, well, who's really coming in? Now, me, I was expecting that typical, we get a few of the old school, we get a few, wrestlers of the past and stuff coming in. But Naomi coming in at number 2.
Yes, you just gonna roll the dice already. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay, let's go.
I was like, oh, you're gonna actually give her a legit entrance, and then getting the welcome back chance before the start of the match. I think it was at first I was like, wow, that's really early at number 2, but then you realize like the moment of her coming back and then getting that ovation and everything. It's like okay, I kind of understand it, and she lasted a long time too.
Yes, she did. But I will say, going to TNA for those 2 years, really helped her, and really helped enhanced her. And I think she's going to go on a very good run in her return back to WWE. I think that 2 years of her being in TNA really, really helped her because I mean sometimes you need to change your scenery. I mean, like for example, Mercedes Sasha, she is killing it right now in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah,
she is making a ton of money, and I mean she is also enhancing her brand because I mean you know as well as I do, you have to work in Japan. You really have to show that you have the skill, which is why when I tell people about, well, you know what, Hogan actually really can wrestle, just watch his Japan tapes. And they're just like, oh, wow. And I've always said, if
I'm
he,
gonna say he was carried.
some of it, yes. Well, okay. When you have guys like Kenji Muto, aka the Great Muta, Tenru, Tatsumi Fujinami, and Ricky Choshu, when you have just those four, and of course Inoki, the legendary Antonio Inoki, when you have those five guys, they can make you look good. And then I've often said, if Hogan was allowed to use his Axie Bomber as a finisher, he probably would not need how many ever back surgeries he's had because of all the years abusing himself,
leg drop.
doing the doggone, as I like to say, the Yokozuna leg drop. Because Andrade, okay.
So this is where like when she talks about Andrade, like when Andrade came back, I was like, okay, cool. That's a good one. Andrade's really good wrestler. I love everything that he's done, especially going back to the New Japan, CMLL, AAA, everything that he did. I was really excited when he first got to TNA, or not to TNA, to NXT, and AEW as well. When he got there, I was like, oh, okay, he could be a big time player that takes them over because his abilities are just he's so good at, like, he's kind of like, if I can compare it, he's kind of like the Randy Orton of Lucha Libre. He's just smooth, fluid, knows what he's doing. He's that kind of guy. So him coming back, I was like, all right, cool. The attire, did kind of, look a little Okada-ish, but when it got to the men's match, the first thing that popped into my head was, if they're going to do a real big surprise, it wasn't going to be MJF, it was going to be Okada. And the only reason why I thought Okada was because in the women's match, they just brought out the TNA Women's Champion. Okada was just in TNA not too long ago. So that told me, I was like, okay, there's a part. When Jordynne Grace came out, I was like, oh shit, okay, this is gonna be pretty interesting how they're gonna do all of this. And then her taking the KOD on the apron to get eliminated by, I was like, oh, that one. At first I was like, oh shit.
Number two, she sold it very, very well,
as she should, as a champion should.
Yes.
Wasn't exiting in Japan. It wasn't wasn't that excited. Well, at first she was, she's trying to get her footing and learn the New Japan way. She's gotten a lot better since then. I know that for sure. Since her debut, at least I know her debut had that small little botch to her finisher on the DDT portion of it. But since then, she's been money. I really did,
and has been making a lot of money.
Yeah. So, but I think if they would have brought in Okada, one, the roof would have blown off the place. If Okada would have showed up, I know if MJF would have showed up, the roof would have gone off. But Andrade was really the only one in the men's Royal Rumble that I was kind of like a little like, oh, okay, I'm glad he's back. But everybody else was like, all right, so there's no real like appearances or like, they had Carmelo Hayes come out. I was like, all right, that's cool. That somebody from NXT, but it was like somebody from the roster. They didn't really bring back former legends or really any big surprises to where the women's match brought surprises, debuts, returns. Like it kind of had it all in the women's match. When Jade Cargill came in and showed off her power by basically manhandling Nia Jackson and tossing her ass over by herself, I was like, oh, golden. This is how you promote this woman. And then the stare downs with Bianca, not just the stare down, but the stare down while having women above your head. The show of strength while looking at each other. It was like, holy shit. Like, the way they kind of did everything. Now, there were some holes that. Now, I want to say this. What I have seen from Maxine Dupree with Chad Gable and Otis, and the
Thank
Alpha Academy,
you.
I love what they're doing. I think a lot of people have been shitting on her for her performance in the Rumble, and the Hurricane Rana that she had her arms out and she was basically just slowly spinning while Bailey was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Bailey could have done a little bit of a better job than that. I thought Bailey kind of undersold that a little bit, that where it was at, Maxine Dupree's detriment. Um, she could have added a little more oomph to that, but it is what it is. But again, they gave her a little bit, but this was her first like real pay-per-view moment to kind of have an individual moment, as most entrants do, and it wasn't great. It was pretty, it was. I just wanted to say it wasn't great, but I'm not going to sit here and shit on the girl like everybody else has. This entire since the Rumble, she's been getting torched on social media for that performance, and I'm not going to lie, I'd be sitting here, lying to everybody if I didn't say that some of it that I saw was a little funny. But again, she's not. She hasn't been that. She's only been like actually wrestling for what? Like this is her. I don't know, like fifth or sixth legitimate like fight or something like that, or legitimate wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't, and it's not like she has an extensive background like Bailey, Sasha, everybody else. They went through the Bailey going through the independent circuit like Sasha did and stuff before they came into the. She didn't have that experience. She was mostly a valet the whole time.
They didn't have the performance. She hasn't had time with the performance center like the others previously mentioned have had.
Exactly. So to sit here and expect that kind of performance, I think, is a little unfair. And I think it's a little unfair to kind of torch her for the performance. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say it was good. You got to call it for what it is. It wasn't good, but it's a situation that she can kind of learn and get better on, especially some of the vets to come around and kind of take her under the wing type of thing. Hopefully that happens. But when Bailey won, it shocked me because I thought they were going to go another route. I thought because of the pop that Jade got and everything that they kind of build her to do at that point, I was not expecting her to be getting eliminated by Liv Morgan. She was third to last. Yeah, she got ganged up on, but at the end of the day, the one that eliminated her was Liv. And then Bailey kicked Liv out. So with Jade, I think, was it a good idea to not have her win the Rumble? I guess you can argue yes, but I guess selfishly I was thinking no, she should have won. But then at that point, if she did win, would it make sense to put her against Rhea? Because like I said, it just made the argument to have Bianca and Jade. So would it make sense for her to win the Royal Rumble to go up against either Io or Rhea? No. So that's what I'm saying. Like in hindsight, kind of looking at it, going, oh, they probably made the right choice. And
Well,
how they went about it.
just to go over the whole results, there was only 4 matches in the whole entire pay-per-view, which obviously Bayley winning the Women's Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns retaining the Universal Championship by beating AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton. Kevin Paul, by disqualification, still retains the United States Championship, and is, of
Kevin
course,
Paul?
Logan Paul. Logan Owens beat Paul Kevin. No, Logan Paul beat KO by disqualification to keep his United States title. And, of course, as we talked about, Cody continuing his story by winning the Men's Royal Rumble as Cody Rhodes joins Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the Immortal Hulk Hogan as the only 4 men to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles. Of course,
very short list.
Yeah, very short list. Hogan did in 90-91, Shawn Michaels in 95-96, Stone Cold in 97-98, and Cody Rhodes 23 and 24. Which leads up to the next pay-per-view for WWE, which is going to be actually it's going to be Vengeance for NXT, and then after that it'll be, I think, Backlash.
Elimination Chamber?
No, Elimination Chamber, yes. So Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia at the Opus Stadium in Western Australia, which is the first event to be held in Australia and the land down under since the 2018 Super Showdown event. And this will be the only WWE event in the Asia Pacific region in 2024. And it's also the third time that Elimination Chamber, for the third consecutive year, will be held out of state. So obviously Rhea Ripley will get a home country ovation because she is from Australia.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely sure.
So mommy will absolutely get a huge pop.
I don't mean to cut you off real quick, though. I wanted to actually address this real quick.
Okay.
Because this was actually a question to me that I was wondering if it was smart or not. Do I think Okada's coming to WWE? Part of me says yes, part of me says no. Part of me thinks he might go to AEW because he actually does have a good relationship with Kenny Omega and the Bucks. Okay. And Okada could really give AEW a real big push.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
If Okada goes to WWE, the only way that it will be effective is if he starts off on the main roster. He cannot start on NXT and still have. Yeah, NXT is gonna, people in that crowd and stuff are gonna go nuts, but Okada is bigger than that. Okada, for those of you guys who don't know who Okada is, and I think if you are a wrestling fan, you definitely know who the hell Kazuchika Okada is. So putting him in NXT to me would be a waste. Because I already think he's good enough to be able to adjust pretty quickly to the WWE style. And I think he would add such a great element to the World Heavyweight Championship scene. Putting him against guys like Seth Rollins or CM Punk even having him go Cody Rhodes, or against Roman Reigns. Like if you want to go that route where Cody doesn't end up finishing the story, you can have Okada somewhere down the line go after Roman's title and be a legitimate threat to that title.
Well, as it stands right now, and this is from SCCScoops.com, Tony Khan has offered more money than the WWE, so that's where it stands right now. Because obviously he's been on both of their radars for a long time. But Dave Meltzer says the impression is that AEW has offered that the WWE's offer is lower, but again, it all depends on where Okada wants to go and where he wants to sign. That's the latest in this saga that involves Okada.
Money might not be the leading factor in this whole thing, because you could probably make up. Yeah, you could probably make up the money in endorsements and stuff like that in WWE that you wouldn't, or that you would get in AEW.
Because in years past,
for merch sales and everything.
Normally, in years past, it was the money that was the ultimate factor, and you took the bigger amount of money, per year. But in today's age, you are absolutely right about that, because obviously,
prestige and fame is what you're looking at.
Yes.
And right now, and this is all due respect to AEW, the prestige that everybody's looking for is being at the WWE stage, performing at WrestleMania. That's everybody's dream. Regardless of what anybody in AEW says or anything else like that, they would kill to have that opportunity, because, again, there's so much money involved in that event. The opportunity just for performing at it is second to none. So Okada, he might take, $100 million less for, 5 more years for the opportunity to headline a lot of these big time events. He is a legitimate superstar. He's been basically carrying New Japan on his back forever. There is no reason why he should be spending a year or 2 years in NXT. It'll be a waste. It'll be a complete waste. His talent is too big for that. NXT is a waste of time for him. But from that standpoint, he needs to go straight to the WWE. But again, he may also look at it for the opportunity at AEW to be able to elevate yet another company. So you're getting paid more, and now you have the opportunity to be one of the stars that, again, you're going to be bringing endorsement deals, video game money, all that other kind of stuff. There's still all of that still very much involved with AEW. And then everybody would love to watch Okada and Kenny Omega fight again. Multiple times.
I would. Sign me up.
It would be a moneymaker for AEW. It really would be a game changer for AEW. So we'll see how that goes. I just thought if we did see him at the Rumble, then it was kind of a guarantee of where he was going. But right now, he's got 2 decisions. One's got prestige, and one has the potential of, big time prestige. Again, and Okada might not want to deal with any of the shit that's going on with WWE right now. He might not want to be associated with any of it right now. So there's a lot that could be on his mind about where they go. but debuting at NXT, it would be probably. I mean, the best idea would be for him to come in at WrestleMania at the very worst. Um, Show up at the Raw after. Um, but this one, I was a little surprised that the U.S. title match went after the war. I'm surprised Roman, L.A. Knight, Randy, and who the fuck was the fourth guy? Why am I blanking? Roman, LA Knight, Randy Orton. Do you happen to know? I am blanking so hard right now. I don't know who was in the Fatal Four Way or who the fourth person was. Can you hear me at all, Deb? Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't think you can hear me. He's having his technical difficulties. Um, but yeah, I'm surprised the world title match didn't either end the night or be like second to last. Um, so we'll see how everything goes along with the Rumble. I was very impressed with the Women's Royal Rumble. Um, the fight for the Universal title was pretty good. Um, they had a lot of real close calls that really kind of made you think that something was unexpected was going to happen. Um, the Kevin Owens and Logan Paul match, I think, um, to be honest, I was a little upset that they were going to have KO lose, but I'm glad it wasn't like clean. If it was going to happen the way that it happened, I'm glad that it happened this way. Um, so it kind of takes a little bit more. But you'll probably see this rematch um, going into uh, going into WrestleMania.
I was trying to tell you. I was trying to tell you. AJ Styles was the fourth man.
So there we go. AJ Styles, fourth man. But yeah, I was surprised that didn't go second to last, or at least last after the men's Royal Rumble. And matter of fact, the way they even built the women's Royal Rumble better than they did the men's Royal Rumble. Although, best part of the night was R-Truth coming in for the hot tag.
R-Truth is just gold. That Rod Killings is gold. I'm telling you.
Can we put a world title on him, please? Does he not deserve it at this point?
Yes. Yes. and I mean, it really takes away because the man actually can go in the ring. Like, watch his years in TNA. Rod Killings can go. He really can. Yeah. But yes, but he at this rate, he needs a title reign because he pure comedy, pure gold, pure entertainment. My goodness.
He has embraced the comedy big time. When he came in and hit and he's like, "Come on, get the tag." I was fucking dying when he came into the women's Royal Rumble match, and you saw he was looking around and he's like, "Wait, where are all the men?" Like, this is the women's Royal Rumble. He ended up getting Valhalla eliminated within 5 seconds. Now she has the new record for fastest elimination. no longer held by Chelsea Green, who also, by the way, had a phenomenal selling acting job in the Royal Rumble, getting smashed between Piper Nevin and Nia Jax, and then just get the whole from her time in the ring to her exit from the ring. It was just hilarious to watch. Um, but for the men by far, Archer coming in, wanting the hot tag, and then doing the whole John Cena, comeback. Uh, the guy can right now do no wrong, and then he
No.
absolutely gets pummeled by Damian Priest and tossed out.
So speaking of Senior Money in the Bank, what you say is the time frame on him cashing that in? What's your time frame are you thinking? Do you think he cashes it in at WrestleMania 40 and pulls off the heist like Seth Rollins did at WrestleMania 31 in Santa Clara?
Depending on how they want to do this, because again, Seth is hurt,
Correct.
and I, with that much damage to your knee, I don't think it's smart to basically push it that far into WrestleMania and then take the time off to do the surgery, and it's just not. I'm thinking, and the only conflict with it is because I don't know who would end up taking him on at WrestleMania, but I would not be surprised if, given the circumstances, Senor Money in the Bank cashes in at Elimination Chamber, gives Seth that early timeout, and Damian Priest walks into WrestleMania 40 as the World Heavyweight Champion. But
Which
that's where I
is
find the conflict of I don't know who he would face.
which is unfortunate because I really thought Seth and Punk at WrestleMania 40 was really going to be really, really special and a really, really good program. And it's unfortunate that both men are going to be on the shelf. It really is super unfortunate because what the story that those two men were getting ready to tell, they were going to draw you in almost like Steamboat and Savage did at WrestleMania 3 and just tell a freaking story. And it sucks that we won't get that. It's really unfortunate. It really is.
Can I ask you this?
Shoot.
Drew McIntyre was laying in CM Punk.
Yes, he was.
How much of that was shoot? Because that he was like the chops that he was laying in were fucking brutal, and like it looked every single move that he did was stiffer than the next.
I'm going to say a very high percentage of that was a shoot. Because I mean, let's just call it what it is. There are some people that are not too excited about Phillip Brooks being back. But again, and this is the one thing you have to respect about Triple H, because he's always says, if it's best for business, we're going to do it. If you know, as the old cliche goes, if it makes money, we're going to run with it. Because I mean, for storyline purposes, I mean, even the whole thing with Seth and Punk going back and forth. Because I mean, you know, some of that is a shoot, some of it is a work, but it was going to put butts in seats inside Lincoln Financial Field on that weekend of April the 6th and 7th in Philadelphia. So now, and if what you say does come into fruition with Damian Priest cashing it and winning it in Australia, and then Priest is your World Heavyweight Champion going into Philadelphia and WrestleMania 40, who would be the guy that would dance with Damian Priest at WrestleMania? I mean,
It would have to be Drew.
I know you would think, even though I think the fan and you and me really wants to see him in Truth kind of headline night one of WrestleMania, but we know that's probably not going to happen.
I'm sorry. You know what? If R-Truth walks out of WrestleMania 40, the World Heavyweight Champion, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. There's look. I said it. I kind of said it as a joke. Can we get a world title out of it? I kind of said it, but I would pop bigger than I pop for anybody in history if R-Truth won the title. If R-Truth won, I don't care if it's night one, it would be even better if it was night two, but if it was night one, it'd be great as well.
Be bigger than Kofi's when Kofi won it at WrestleMania 35.
It'll be bigger than Daniel Bryan's.
Oh, you're saying it'd be bigger than WrestleMania 30? Oh my goodness!
100%. There's no doubt in my mind. There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind that everybody in the WWE universe, in the professional wrestling world, would love nothing more than R-Truth and Little Jimmy to be holding up the World Heavyweight Championship at the end of WrestleMania 4. With the pyrotechnics, the pageantry behind it. Shit, he can even come in with the old school "What's up?" It does not matter. Everybody in Philly would give him his love and proper respect. It would be like if he's thinking of retiring soon, that would be a hell of a way to kind of go out on top. Because again, he's done so much for the business. He's taken the backseat mid-card role for pretty much his entire career. To kind of give him his
flowers,
his due, his flowers that way, I think is the best way you could do it. So yeah, I'm gonna hope to God now that that's how it happens. It's gonna be Damian Priest cashing in on Seth Rollins at Elimination Chamber, and it's gonna set up the fight between Damian Priest, R-Truth, night one, co-main event. They're not gonna go on last because they're gonna leave that for whoever Rhea. Probably whoever she goes at, or whoever goes after her, or maybe even Bailey Io. But I know one of the women's title matches is going to main event night one. But Damian Priest and R-Truth will co-main event. So the second to last match of the night on night one. Oh man, that's going to be. People are going to go nuts. It's going to be the biggest. It'll be bigger than Daniel Bryan. It'll be bigger than when the Hardys returned. It'd be bigger than anything you've ever heard. It'll be bigger than everything. It needs to happen. Make it happen. Hey, TKO. Let's go. Make it happen. Make it happen. It's what the people want.
Well, with that said, we will definitely keep you posted on that situation as we are on the road to WrestleMania. But special thanks to Tori for asking some very good questions and chiming in with her.
Tori.
We appreciate that. For those that watch, we appreciate you for watching. For JP, Josh Perneda, I'm Double A Anthony Alvarez. We thank you for watching episode number 4 of the Ring Psychology Podcast 2.0. We will see you for episode 5, and as always, we'll see you in the ring.